Okay. So as you all aware that the topic for today's session is a yoga positive psychology. So before proceeding, going in deep discussion on this topic, I would like to make some generalized statement. So the first statement is that yoga and psychology both are synonyms. It means in the broader term, yoga and psychology is working on same field. As per my own understanding, yoga is a scientific study of mind, its behavior and management. Same way, psychology is also defined the scientific study of mind, its activities and its management. So I always feel, and it's my broader understanding, that these two terms are the synonym. So either we can adopt the yoga or psychology. But what is the positive psychology? That later in detail I will discuss. But here it is that it's a new branch of the psychology which is discussing the higher possibilities of human existence. Either we are on this earth just for the food and just to sleep, just for the house, or there is some particular purpose. To find out a particular purpose, the positive psychology is much emphasized on that there should be a particular purpose and we should explore that purpose, and that called the ultimate. And this preface will be explained in detail. So we always start the yoga discussion with a prayer. So I'm not going to chant here the prayer, but I will discuss the philosophy, what is called the yoga as a positive psychology through this prayer. This is very well-known prayer, and it's a part of common yoga protocol, which is prepared by the Morarji Desai and which is practiced across the globe on the occasion of International Day of Yoga on 21st June. So in this prayer, Sangachadhum, Sambadadhum, Sambo Manansi Janatam, Deva Bhagam Yatha Purve Sanjanana Upasate. So the message of this prayer is very important, that may our action, words and thoughts be beneficial to each other as were our ancestors, so that there may harmony in this universe. It means there are three levels of our existence. One is a mental, second is a verbal, third is a physical level. So whatever we are doing mentally, that should be harmonized. Whatever we are doing verbally, that should be harmonized, and whatever we are doing physically, that should be harmonized. Because at the level of thought, at the level of word, at the level of action, if there is a harmony, then we can proceed. We can live a holistic life. Holistic life means there is a health, there is a happiness, there is a well-being, there is a wellness, everything. So this prayer is giving a sutra how to live. And this is not any kind of new invention. Already our ancestors lived in the same way, that they have a thought which is beneficial for all. They used the word which was beneficial for all, and they acted like that, that it is which called the mutual benefit. Because our existence is a mutually dependent. An individual cannot survive without the help of others. Other may be any person, other may be any animal, other may be any plant, etc., other may be any natural resources. So such types of broad vision have been taken by our ancestors. Same we should also, as it called the positive psychology. Positive psychology means broad thinking, broad vision, broad goal, broad aim. And that is only possible when we are preparing at the level of mind. So we start from Sambo Manansi Janatam. That at the level of mind, at the level of belief, at the level of ideas, at the level of thought, there should be harmony. No, because thoughts are invisible. Mind is totally invisible. No one can guess whatever is going in anybody individual's mind, but that we can judge, that we can have some knowledge through his words or action. So there are one part is invisible, which called the mind. The functioning of mind is the thinking, remembering, memorizing, etc. There are so many functions of mind. But how we can identify somebody's thoughts are good? If he or she is using a positive word, he or she is acting in a universal way, that his act, her act is beneficial for that particular and also for other. Next, most important is that if we are adopting such types of just a philosophy, just a ideology, it will solve many our problems. Whatever we are nowadays facing, either the problem at the mental level or physical level, either it is the vyadhi or adi, whatever it is called, it is due to some of time we are having in the wrong pathway due to wrong thoughts. So first importance, yoga as a positive psychology, that we should adopt a positive attitude, and positive attitude toward the individual benefits and toward the universal benefit. If such ideology, such a belief, such a thought, such a philosophy can be adopted by us, then we can claim we are on the path of yoga, which is known as a positive psychology. Mean we are not just a human. The life is not just to be human. According to Aurobindo, Sri Aurobindo, a very great philosopher, he said we should put effort to be superhuman being. Superhuman being is nothing else. There are no physical any kind of transformation. There is only and only one transformation, and that called the mental transformation. And that happen, that start from the thought. Further, that thought become the thinking, thinking become the belief pattern become the ideology converted into our action, and that become the customs, rituals, etc. So everything is starting from the thought. So if we are able to manage our thought, if we are able to broaden our thinking, then everything will be managed. So we cannot change much more in the outer world, in the visible world, but we can make so many changes in the invisible world, which is called the core form of any individual's personality. Next, one of the also very famous prayer, it is not chanted very frequently, but it's very important from the yoga and the psychology point of view. Durjanah sajjano bhuya sajjanah santim apnuat santo mucchet bandhebhyo muktah chanyan vimoche. What is the psychology and what is the positive psychology? Here is a very clear-cut distinction between psychology and positive psychology. First is a durjanaha sajjano bhuyat. A person who's the act, who's the words, because we are not aware about the thinking. Only visible part of anybody's personality can be assessed. So a person whose words are not good, whose actions are not good, not benefit for that particular, not benefit for that. So we say that person is not good. That technically called the durjana. Durjanaha sajjano bhuya. So first emphasis of yoga is that such types of person should be transformed in the wicked person should become the virtuous. It means a person who is not following the universal law and order, that person should start to following that universal law and order. First step. So a person who was not behaving according to nature, he should or she should start to behaving according to nature, and that will change from very beginning, that called the thought. Next, sajjana santim apnat. It is not just our primary goal that a person was not organized, now he become organized, so that's enough. No, there is another version of the upgradation. What is that version? Sajjana santim apnat. A person who is organized, he should to a much more upgradation. What is the much more upgradation? That is called the santima apnea, the higher state of consciousness, where he feels very cool, calm, positive. So that state he or she should achieve. Next, if a person achieve that state, next is the santo muccheda bandhebhyo. Then we should more put effort. We have to put more effort for further progress. What is that further progress? That we should start our journey beyond mind, which also called the state, which is further known as a no mind state, and that is called the bandhebhyo mucchet. The all kind of suffering, the all kind of misery, the all kind of problem, whatever we are facing in our day-to-day life. Why? Because we have some certain preconditions, pre-assumptions, and we are behaving with that precondition, that pre-assumption. That's why we are not, sometimes we feel we are not fit in the scenario in any society. Why? Because there are three way of observing any object, and there are three way of behaving. First is the way which called the rag. We are behaving with due to certain pre-likes. We fix it. Second one is the dvesh. We are behaving with certain pre-dislike. And third is the dvesh, without any attachment. Being a neutral. Being a neutral means not attracted, not able to attract or not able to interact with the outer world. That called the udasin bhava. It means the neutral state. Beyond the fourth stage is a stage of yoga when we are physically, mentally aware and positive, but not prejudiced, not preconditioned. It means we are trying to observe object as it is, not as per our like, dislike, or being just away from that. So these two shlokas give a brief introduction of brief preface what called the yoga as a positive psychology. The essence of these two slides is that yoga as a positive psychology just give a message that we have to organize our thought, we have to broaden, we have to make a broad vision, and if we are able in such level of planning, such level of implementation, automatically our visible personality and even the reality, the outer will be also changed. Now, there are three key points. One, first is what is yoga, that I will discuss in detail. Second, what is the psychology. Third, positive psychology, and how yoga is evolved as a positive psychology. Detail I will not discuss. So, in very generalized way, yoga is an ancient Indian art and science of holistic living. If some is a very layman person and he or she is want to know what is exactly yoga, so for that person, yoga is an ancient Indian art and science of holistic living. More detailed way, yoga is a set of physical, mental, spiritual practices which leads towards the health, happiness, and harmony. Now you all are, some of you may be directly from yoga, some of maybe from the different field. So I would like to tell, and maybe the earlier speaker may also explain this topic. Yoga word has three meanings. Meaning of yoga is a Sanyam, control. Second meaning of yoga is Samadhi, higher state of consciousness. And third, yoga means union or yoga. So these are not three meanings. These are the three steps of yoga. So to understand the nuances or the exact meaning of yoga, we have to pass through these three phases. So first phase is a Sanyama, second phase is a Samadhi, and third phase is a union or yoga. But this not seems a very attractive word for us. If somebody says, you just follow yoga, you will get the Sanyam. We are not much interested. Somebody says, oh, just follow the path of yoga and you will get the Samadhi. We are not interested. If somebody says, follow the path of yoga and you will get the union, we are not attracted and not very much interested. But somebody says, follow the path of yoga, you will get health. You will be just aware. Yeah, very important, because everybody wants health. If somebody says, follow the path of yoga, you will get the happiness. Everybody will be interested. And somebody says, follow the path of yoga, you will get the harmony. Everybody will be understand, because these are the modern terminology. If we talk on the in the sense of using the term Sanyam, Samadhi, yoga, no one is much interested. These are the outdated terminology. But what are the modern terminology for these words? Health, happiness, and harmony. These are the three basic needs of each and every individual. If a person wants to holistic life, what is the holistic life? If there is a health, there is a happiness, there is a harmony, definitely that these three collectively call the holistic living, holistic life, or the well-being. So Sanyam is the source, or Sanyam is the key of the health. Sanyam means the control. If we have a great control over our diet, our sleep, our exercise, our mental activities, our physical activities, then definitely we will be the health. So Sanyam, control, is the key of the health. If you want to be healthy, just follow the Sanyam, certain rule and regulation. Samadhi means a meditative state is the key of happiness. Happiness is two types of. One, happiness is an objective happiness, which called the objective joy, mean achieving some particular object, interacting with some person, doing some particular activity, we feel pleasure. But there is another higher type of happiness which called the subjective joy. But just be silent, connect with yourself, and you will get the ultimate happiness that will enlarge 4 and 4 moreover. And the last but the most important is the harmony. Harmony means why? Because we are living in a particular body, we are living in a particular family, we are living in a particular society, we are living in a particular country, and for all existence, these all are the essential. I cannot live without body, I cannot live without the family, I cannot live without the country, etc. So harmony means tuning with each and every layer of personality. So first, tuning body, senses, mind, intellect, and consciousness. If there is a tuning, it's called the harmony. Tuning means hierarchy. Next level is the tuning with the family members. Next, tuning with the society, tuning with the country. So universal tuning that is required to be fit in the society, and that in more detail I will discuss when I am going to throw light on the Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali. Next, there are three broad branches of yoga, which are known as the yoga philosophy, yoga practices, and yoga therapy. So the first branch or the primary phase of yoga was the philosophy. What is the philosophy? Philosophy is a process of observation, perception, analyzation, and expression. Everybody is adopting philosophy, everybody is involved in philosophy, but nobody knows that he is also a philosopher. Everybody is observing, everybody is perceiving, everybody is analyzing, and everybody is expressing. So what is yoga philosophy? Swasthasya samadhi lava. The purpose of this yoga is a healthy person must explore the higher possibilities of that individual. A healthy person means a person who is physically fit, mentally fit. He should not remain that level. The ultimate, he should explore the higher aspects of one life. What is that higher aspect? In the yoga, we call the samadhi. In the modern terminology, we call it the happiness. Happiness is what? There are two, as I already mentioned, that two types of happiness. One is the objective. If I want to a good pain and I just purchase a pen of Parker and then I feel, yeah, now I have sufficient. But after one day, today, I feel that Parker is a useless. So my happiness is now vanished, destroyed. So yoga taught that you should achieve happiness which is prolonged for more time. So what is that? That is the subjective joy and that subjective happiness, and how that can be explored. That can be explored through the dhyana, through the particular meditation. And if we are able to attain, if we are able to experience that happiness, then this outer world will be just a play for us. We have an inner strength, inner control, everything. So first is the yoga philosophy. And broadly talking, that yoga philosophy is the yoga's positive psychology. Mean here we are not stuck on this physical world. We are putting effort to explore beyond this physical world, because sometimes we feel that we are body, sometimes we feel that we are senses, sometimes we feel that there's a mind, intellect, ego, etc. But sometimes we feel no, we are beyond all, because we are the observer of our ego, our intellect, our mind, our body. It means there's something beyond that. What is that? That can be experienced only at the stage of samadhi, and that is the ultimate goal of the yoga. Second, yoga is a practice which is known as the Hatha Yoga. Swasthasya swastha rakshanam, promotion of health. A healthy person should remain healthy. For that, he or she has to follow certain rules and regulations, certain practices, certain modification in the lifestyle. And the most recent field of the yoga is a therapy that now yoga is working on also several lifestyle disorders and several chronic disease and disorder. And the purpose of yoga therapy is that a person who is not physically or mentally healthy or fit, so by practicing yoga, by adopting different lifestyle which is recommended by the yoga, a person can feel healthy. From health to maintain the health, from maintaining health just to the higher aspects of the individual, which is known as a superhuman being. It is not, as I already stated, that it is not any kind of physical changes that I will get 4 hands and 7 legs being a superhuman. No, just I will experience that subjective joy, which is technically called the Anand. And that is the ultimate search of our rishis. And they profound it and they found it and they declare that that joy, that Anand, that subjective joy can be achieved through the yoga, through the dhyana, etc. Later we'll discuss more details. Next, Acharya Patanjali defined yoga in a very broader way. What is the yoga? Yoga is a discipline. Atha yoganusasanam. But what kind of discipline? Then he again explained, yogaschit vritti nirodha. Yoga is a mental discipline. Next, tada drashtuhu sarupe avasthanam. If somebody says that if I go for the mental discipline, what I will achieve? So Acharya Patanjali say that you will experience your essence, which is the burning desire continuously there. And that burning desire can be only destroyed when we experience our true self, which called the drashta bhav, the observer. And if somebody says that I'm not interested to control my mind, to discipline my mind, then what will happen? So Acharya Patanjali says, vritti sarupya miratra, that your personality always will be fluctuating according to outer world. If in the outer world, things are according to you, favorable things, then you will be cool, calm, positive, and very organized. If things will be gone very in the negative sense and sometimes situation will be not in your favor, then again your personality will be shaking. So it is your decision. You want to be a stable personality person, a united personality person, or a fragmented personality person. So if you want to be united person or a stable person, then you have to start your mental discipline. And how that mental discipline can be start it further in more detail. Later slide I will discuss. Next is a psychology and positive psychology. So this is just a very basic kind of a statement which give a basic understanding what is psychology. So psychology is the scientific study of the mind and behavior. And what is the positive psychology? Positive psychology is the scientific study of what makes life most worth living. Most worth living means once achieve for more. Now, whatever we are achieving, that achievement is a temporary. Because before achieving anything, that particular object, that particular person, that particular activity seems more attractive. But once I achieve, immediately my mind is saying, no, it is not more important. Again, we have to go for more and more search. So positive psychology is all about that finding that anand, that subjective joy. It means there is a complete purpose, and if we are able to find out that purpose, so it called the positive psychology, means living with a vision. Next, how we can say yoga as a positive psychology. So there are the term for yoga, the positive psychology used traditionally called the adhyatma sadhana, spiritualism or spirituality. What is the spiritualism or spirituality? The essence of human being is the spirit, and the management of spirit called the spirituality, means total personality management. Next, what is the yoga as a positive psychology? The art of living an organized and purposeful life called the adhyatma sadhana or yoga as a positive psychology. Further, how we can say in that visible world, we are living a very organized or very purposeful life. So for that, it is stated that make every action, either at the level of mind, at the level of words, at the level of body, make every action for the upgradation of self and the betterment of the universe. And if we are able to do so, then we can declare we are adhyatmic, we are spiritual. We are in the state which called the higher state of the mind. Next, I already mentioned, but more detailed way we can know from here that there are three aspects of our personality. One is the visible aspect, which called the body, senses, and the other outer layer or this world. Second layer of our personality, which is not visible, invisible, but it is matter of experience, which called the mind, intellect, and ego. These three are not visible, but these three are the integral part of our body, but we can experience that now my mind is working, my mind is fluctuating, my intellect is working, my ego is working. So, and third, but the most important aspect is the which called the spirit, consciousness, soul, which is totally unknown. It exists, but it is unknown because the observer of all these three, either it is mind, intellect, ego, body, etc., someone is beyond all these. So the beyond is, which is generally totally unknown for us. How we can make it known us, how we can experience it, it is all about the yoga. Yoga is a journey from which starts from very outer layer. In the further slides it is mentioned, from Ashtanga Yoga, Yama Niyam is to manage very outer layer of every individual and just go the most inner layer, which is called the Samadhi. And once we are in a state of Samadhi, Samadhi is a higher state of concentration, higher state of awareness, then we can experience our true nature, true essence. And how in this context, Bhagavad Gita put very positive word that uddharet atmanam uddharet atmana atmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiv hi atmano bandhur atmaiv ripur atmana. This is called the source of all kind of freedom. Across globe, there is a kind of discussion and discourse is going on the freedom, that there should be freedom. There are very layers of freedom. But the Bhagavad Gita, which is the very prominent text of the yoga philosophy, yoga practices, that declare that everybody is free. And once we are free, then we are responsible. Because every individual is free to whatever we want to do, we can do. But Gita is saying, just put positive effort. Uddharet Atmanam. Whatever you are doing, that should be self-upgradation, not degradation, because these two are possibility. If we are guided, if we are planned, if we are managed or maintained or supervised by other, then that person will decide what we have to do. But once we said that we want freedom, so if we want freedom, then we have to take the responsibility. So Gita said, you have a freedom, you can upgrade yourself, you can degrade yourself. You can make yourself the better version, you can also make yourself the worse version, because we have a freedom. So Gita says, you just put the effort to upgrade yourself, because if you are not putting the effort for your self-upgradation, automatically your mind, your words, your action will be on the path which is known as the self-degradation, because the self itself is the friend of self, and the self itself is the enemy of the self, but not ordinary enemy, the greatest enemy. It will destroy each and everything. So the conclusion of these two shlokas is that we have a freedom to choose upgradation and degradation, but advice is that we should go for the self-upgradation. And this self-upgradation is the path of yoga, and this self-upgradation is known as the positive psychology. Next, these are very common terms in India: Purushartha Chatushtay, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So psychologically, we have to understand what is the Dharma, what is the Artha, what is the Kama, what is the Moksha. So after the birth, everybody has bundle of desires. What is that desire? The primary desire is to connect with this outer world, and the desire to connect with this outer world called the Kama. So everybody by birth having the Kama desires, and later we are trying to fulfill that desire. So whatever we need to fulfill that desire is called the Artha. So Kama is an inbuilt feature, and desires are inbuilt, but to fulfill that desire we need an Artha, we need a different kind of object. And then after the birth we start, there is the desire, we go and fulfill, because we get some pleasure, some positiveness. So this circle is again and again going, and it's called the consumism, materialism. That if there is a desire, just fulfill it. Enjoy each and every moment of your life. Just forget what will happen to the next event. And that leads life in a dark phase. So our ancestor rishis and munis, they observe this cycle, this vicious circle. They desire, solve desire, again desire, solve desire, again desire. Because it's a very famous quote from Bhagavad Gita. Desire has two aspects. Either you can satisfy your desire, or you can suppress your desire. If you are going to satisfy your desire, then again new desire will be born. If you are going to suppress your desire, then your inner personality will blast. You will get inner disturbance, which called the krodha and lobha. Kama further is converted into two forms. If Kama is a fulfilled, then lobha, more desire will be there. If Kama is a stop, then there is a krodha, inner disturbance. In inner disturbance, we are going to fulfill that desire in a very mad way. So, Kama, desire fulfillment. And this way, a very famous character in our mythology is Yayati. Yayati is a famous person who spent more than 1,000 years for desire fulfillment, any kind of desire. Later, this is found that in this way, we are the work become the useless. If we are here just to fulfill the desire, then there's no need to this work, because the other animals also having such tendency. So, what is the unique feature USP which make human being different from any animal? So, Bhartrihari say, Ahar, Nidra, Bhayamaitunam. Animals also want food. They also want sleep. They having the fear factor, and ahar, nidra, and they have also the physical relation. What is the difference between the human being and animal? Viveka buddhis tesam adhikam, means we have a power of self-upgradation. We can put effort for the self. It means while managing all these things, we can go beyond also, which called the journey of yoga, the path of yoga. So our rishis made some particular rule and regulation that which types of desire, in when it should be fulfilled, and which type of desire should be just passed on. So certain rules of the desire management called the dharma. Dharma is nothing. Dharma is just a certain rules which govern our desire. That all kind of desire we are going to fulfill all time, then our body will not sustain for a longer time. Later, sooner, the body will be destroyed and we will be also vanished. So there are certain rules. First, categorize the desire, which are the good desire, which are the bad desire, and also the timing of desire, when desire should be fulfilled. So there are certain rules and regulations which govern our desire, that called the dharma. But why dharma? Why such types of rule and regulation? So the rishis say that there is the ultimate purpose of this life, and that is the moksha, the ultimate liberation. Why ultimate liberation? Because once we achieve that state, so being in the body, we will be away from all this desire fulfillment chain. It means this vicious circle will be destroyed. So moksha is mean just experiencing that higher state of consciousness, and it may be possible only when we are able to manage our visible form of personality. We are manage our kama, artha, this chain, and for managing that, there are certain do and don'ts, and that called the dharma. Next, the yoga gives a complete package for this, and how we can manage this dharma, artha, kama, etc., and how we can upgrade ourselves. So for that, Bhagavad Gita give a complete package, which is known as the Dhyana Yoga. And in Yoga Sutra, which is also very prominent yoga text, there is a term Ashtanga Yoga. So now I'm going to these two practical aspects, because I talk a lot about that we should put effort for the self-upgradation, but how we can go for that self-upgradation? What is the pathway of that self-upgradation? So this is the pathway of the self-upgradation. In the Bhagavad Gita, the pathway of self-upgradation is known as the Dhyana Yoga. And Dhyana Yoga is divided in two parts. One part is the management, second part is the practices, which lead toward the experiencing higher state of the consciousness. So for the self-upgradation, we have to very first start managing our basic requirements. And what are the basic requirements? So these are known as the basic requirements: ahara, nidra, vyayama, vichara, karma. Yukta ahara viharasya yukta. This shloka is from Bhagavad Gita, is stated in the next slide, and that exactly I am going to share and explain in a very brief way. Yukta ahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. So the first aim of yoga is to manage our visible aspect. Visual aspect is what? Ahara, nidra. These are essential. Without ahara, we cannot survive. Without nidra, we cannot survive. Without physical activities in the sense of exercise, etc., we cannot survive. Without thought, we cannot survive. And without doing karma, we cannot survive. So first step towards the self-upgradation is to manage these 5 elements, which are the essential. So ahara should be yukta, a balanced diet. Very first, we have to work on the ahara. Next, nidra. Yukta nidra, very balanced sleep. Next, yukta vihara. Yukta vihara means there should be a very balanced physical activity, which called exercise, etc. Next, yukta vichara, positive, enlightening thought. And yukta karma, we should be aware whatever are our duties and responsibility, we should be aware toward that, and we should be dedicatedly fulfill that duties and responsibility. And once these aspects are managed, because nowadays most of problems are the outcome of the disturbance, either in the ahara, either in the nidra, either in the vihara, either in the vichara, either in the karma. Either it's a stress, whatever, stress, obesity, whatever we call the disease, disorder, everything is just outcome of not managing these 5 elements properly. And if we are able to manage it, and these are very important. If we are ignoring ahara, ignoring nidra, ignoring vyayama, ignoring thoughts, ignoring karma, then our visible and invisible, both aspects of our personality will be totally destroyed. So Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita said that first step towards the self-upgradation is the managing visible aspect. Ahara, nidra, vyayama, vichara, karma. And if our ahara is organized, there are certain principles of ahara recommended by the Ayurveda, yoga, which are known as the yukta ahara, mita ahara, means the quality, the quantity, the way of having, the way of eating, the time of eating, the temperament during the eating. It should be very systematized, very positive. There should be a particular time of eating, etc. So all these called the yukta ahara. Yukta nidra means the sleep is not in our control, but the time to go on bed and the time of get up we can fix. So in the Sanskrit it's called the Swapna Avabodh. So we can fix that. This time I will go on bed and early morning time, whatever you will, 6, 7, 8 hours as per your demand, as per your requirement, you go for the Yukta Nidra. The Nidra should be very balanced. Now the psychologists are much aware about our sleep pattern. How if our sleep is very organized, that so many depression, disorders, primarily is going to be away. And third, but the most important, and in the India, it is most primarily missing, that is the exercise. In the urban, in the metro cities, people are much aware that they are going to gym, yoga, Zumba classes, etc. But in the most of the portion of our population is not much aware. But as important is ahar, as important is the nidra, same amount the vyayam, the physical activities, the exercise, etc. is also important, because ahar give energy, nidra give relaxation, and these two are possible only whatever we eat, if properly it is distributed in the body. There is a proper flow of the blood, proper flow of the oxygen, proper flow of the different hormones, and that for that we need minimum level of the exercise. So these three are important. Fourth one is the thought. Some of time we are not aware. Patanjali very clearly said that how mind functions. So he stated the functioning of mind in 5 different level. He said pramana, viparya, vikalpa, nidra, smriti. So the conclusion of this shloka is that mind has two. Either mind is a active or mind is a deactive. If mind is a active, it's called the pramana and viparya. If mind is a deactive, it's called nidra. So when we are in the sleep, that time mind is a inactive. There is no need, because there is no thought is going on. But when mind is active at that time, what happens? Mind is connected with the present, mind is connected with the past, mind is connected with the future. Further, inactive means nidra. But active, there are 3 possibilities. Either mind is at present, whatever. If I am delivering a lecture, so if my mind is also here, it called the mind is at present. But I am lost in some memories, mind is in the past. I am lost in some planning, some imagination, it called the mind in future. So basically, if mind is at present, so if there is a complete awareness, it called pramana. If there is lack of awareness and attention, it called the viparya. But if we are not in present, so most of time either we are in a state of vikalpa or smriti. Either we are in the stage of memories or in the planning or imagination, etc. So vichar means managing the mind. Managing the mind means having the positive mind, positive beliefs, positive ideology. Because primarily, whatever we are going to think, each and every thought having effect on our personality, on our words, on our action, later, sooner. Because a very famous, nowadays is very famous, the butterfly effect. What is the butterfly effect? It means any kind of very minute activity will happen in any part of this universe, that later sooner will also give the impact on other part of it. So same way, the thoughts are the very minute, it is not visible. But if we are aware, if we are attentive, if we have a plan, if we have a purpose, so thought automatically will be organized. Next is the karma. And now at the present time, most of MNCs, etc. is working, everybody has the workload. So we are not much enjoying our karma, assigned duties, our role and responsibility. But the yoga says, if you want to upgrade yourself, so enjoy whatever are your assigned duties and responsibility. It may be you like, you don't like, hardly matter, but you have to give complete devotion and dedication toward that. Then only you can go more further or more further. Otherwise, if these elements are not managed and you started your journey of yoga means higher level of practice to experience that ultimate goal, which is known as the Ananda Samadhi, then these will create the disturbance. Without managing these 5, a person cannot move in the more and more deeper journey of the yoga. Once this managed, now Krishna says everybody is fit for the yoga practice. Yoga practice means to experience that subjective joy, to experience that ananda. And for that, there is a particular step. First is a particular place. Next is a particular mat. Third is a particular posture. These 3 are very essential, because by standing, by sleeping, we cannot proceed further for a yoga practice. That's why the sitting posture is the ideal. So in a particular place, on a particular mat, or on a particular body posture, we have to adopt for the further practices. What are the further practices? So first practice yoga is the pranayama, breath management. Because as much as our breath is under control, mind automatically will be controlled. Because in the Hatha Yoga, it is believed that mind and the breath both are the interconnected. If there is a disturbance in the breath, automatically mind will be disturbed. If the breaths are organized, mind will be organized. Then once pranayam, we have a control over our prana, then we should work next. That's called the pratyahara. What is the pratyahara? Pratyahara just withdrawing the senses. Means every sense develops some of the taste, some of the like and dislike. So just neutralizing that likes and dislike, because everything is important. So neutralizing that like and dislike called the pratyahara. Now we are prepared for the final phase of yoga, which is known as the dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. So we can start from dharana. That dharana automatically will be converted into dhyan, and that dhyan automatically will be converted into samadhi. There's no need to do more anything. So we can do only, we can select a particular place when our ahar and nidra etc. are managed. If not managed, just work on that. Then go for this type of yoga practices. So next, same way, the complete package of self-upgradation given by Acharya Patanjali, which is known as the Ashtanga Yoga. So now I think next I have a 20-25 minutes. So I will put a light on this Ashtanga Yoga. Most of you maybe heard about the Ashtanga Yoga, but I will try to give a new dimension of Ashtanga Yoga. So first, these are the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga: Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. Because some of components are already here, that's why I skipped my earlier slide, and everything will be discussed here in detail. So Acharya Patanjali start the self-upgradation, Adhyatma Sadhana, Yoga Sadhana, broadening of the mind. From first rule is the Yama. Yama means certain rules to live in a society. Yama will not leave any kind of spiritual growth, but it will make a person to be fit in the society. So what are the prerequisites to being fit in the society, or the rules how to behave with others? Just see the observation of Acharya Patanjali. Acharya Patanjali started the Ashtanga Yoga, not how to live with the self, how to interact with the self. Very first, because that is the most outer aspects of our personality, how we are interacting with the outer world. Outer world may be anything, person, place, an animal, anything. So first he said that we have to follow 5 principles to interact with the outer world. And what are the 5 principles, which are known as the Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha. I am now going to give a very generalized, very simple meaning of all this. So first importance is that to adopt Brahmacharya. What is Brahmacharya? In the very confined meaning, it called the control over particular senses. But what is the real meaning of Brahmacharya? Brahmacharya means Brahma vad charati iti Brahmacharya. Brahma means something is a very vast, something is a very broad. So broad thinking, it called the Brahmacharya. A person who is always adopting a very broad thinking, such types of persons, such types of activity called the Brahmacharya. The secondary meaning of Brahmacharya means accepting this universe, each and every activity, each and every component as an important component. We categorize the someone is a VIP, someone is a VVIP, someone is a local, sometimes. So according to Patanjali, the first requirement to be fit in the society, that we have to accept the importance of each and every particle of this universe. And such a ideology, such a belief, such a thinking called the Brahmacharya means everything is important in this universe. Automatically the other yamas will be reflected in our behavior. How? If we accepted that each and every aspect, each and every particle, each and every component of this universe is equally important, then what will happen? We are not going to harm anything physically. We are not going to harm anything mentally. We are not going to harm anything socially. So physical harm called the hinsa. and lack of that physical harm called the ahimsa, mental harm called the stay, and lack of that mental harm is called the stay. Next, social harm. We are also harming people socially. Socially means we are accumulating things unnecessary. So some of members of our society are not able to fulfill their basic desire, basic needs. So parigraha means accumulating unnecessary. By accumulating unnecessary commodity, what we are trying to do? Indirectly, we are socially harming. Means some of person are not able to maintain their social status. So aparigraha. And so if we adopted a broad vision, if we accepted each and every particle is equally important, that we are not going to harm anything. So automatically we are established in ahimsa, non-violence. We are also not going to harm anyone mentally. So we are already established in the non-stealing. Stay. We are not also going to harm anyone socially. So we are in a state of aparigraha. And last but the most important, to be fit in the society, just be the simple. Now it becomes very complexity that if a person is very simple, so he cannot get success, he cannot survive in the society. No, it is just a kind of wrong belief, wrong perception, and wrong kind of advertisement that everybody is trying to be more smart, not for the self-evidence, more smart that how we can cheat with the other. But the Acharya Patanjali is saying Satya. Satya is the primary truth. Satya means simplicity, simplicity. Just be simple. Your thought, your words, your actions should be aligned. There should be harmony. And if everybody is able to do so, so just imagine what may be the color of our society, what may be the phenomena in the society. The society will be harmonized. Everybody is fit to live. There is no lack of physical resources. There is no lack of ideas. Then nothing which call that a person is not able to fulfill his basic requirement, basic needs. So first, yama, how to interact, how to live, how to behave with others, how to be a fit person in society, because that is the most outer aspects of our personality. Now, if we are fit in the society, then we can progress, we can move toward more inward journey. So next, Acharya Patanjali stated that now we should work for the, now we are completely organized, and now we are fit in the society. We learn the rules, how to interact with the others, how to live in a harmonized society. Now Acharya Patanjali says how to live with the self-management. What are the rules of self-management? Saucha, cleansing, santosa, mental satisfaction, tapa, bearing all the dualities, all the changes occur due to the different atmosphere, swadhyaya, self-observation, and Ishwar Pranidhan, accepting the universal or accepting supreme power which is governing each and everything. These are the 5 rules which are for the self-upgradation. Mean if there is a Sauch, so by adopting Sauch, we will be physically, mentally healthy. By adopting Santosh, what is the Santosh? Santosh means whatever you have, just have the and have a view that is also important. Whatever you acquire, enjoy that also. Santosh means not stop acquiring, stop achieving. No, Santosh means whatever you acquire, whatever you are achieved, enjoy that, enjoy your presence. So why Santosh? Why Sauch we will get health? Why Santosh we will get the happiness? Why Tapa we will get the stability? Why Swadhyaya we will get a pathway for more upgradation? Because nowadays it's very famous, the journal maintain. Everybody says just maintain your journal, so your personality will be totally transformed. It means whatever from very early morning to till late night, whatever you are doing, if you are able to observe, you are able to categorize, then you can definitely upgrade. If somebody realize and experience that some act is a good, definitely he or she is going to promote that act. It happened unconsciously. If you recognize, if you admitted that this act was not done in proper way, or if this act is not ethical, then automatically you should, if you are aware, automatically you will avoid that. But for that you have to analyze, you have to categorize, and at last the most important is just being holistic, that we have to accept a universal power which is called the Ishvara Pranidhana. Universal power means there is a universal law and order, universal mind. Every individual having the individual mind. That way there is a universal mind. And that kind of acceptance does not harm our any kind of, the niyama is not saying just go to temple, just to follow anything. No, just accept that someone is more greater than me. This is the essence of Ishwar Pranidhana. So first we learn how to be good in the society. Second, we learn how to be good with the self. And now we are ready for the more inward journey, more transformation and more upgradation. And that starts from asana, a particular posture, pranayama, breath management, pratyahara, neutralizing our senses, our like, dislike, etc. And real practice starts from here, dharana, focusing on any particular object, whatever suits to you, as per your pre-understanding, etc. Just focus on that for a longer time. Automatically, your mind will be calm, your breath will be very synchronized. Slowly, your level of concentration and level of awareness will increase, and slowly you will first. We are doing this concentration with effort. We have to make effort again and again. Mind is going here and there, so then we have to again fix on that particular point. Later, sooner, after passing some time, mind automatically will be concentrated on that point. So effortful concentration called the dharana. And if that concentration is effortless, then it becomes the dhyana. And it happens. If effortfully for a long time you are going to concentrate your mind on a particular point, later your mind naturally will be concentrated on your point. It's called effortless concentration. And if we achieve that effortless concentration, then later this will lead toward the journey which is called the beyond mind. Beyond mind means the effect of mind, etc., which called the pure peace, pure prosperity, pure positivity. And that will lead toward the subjective joining. Subjective joining means once achieve forever, such types of joining. So now 15 minutes is there, so we can go for the practical, which is very popular in the Bhagavad Gita. Nasikagra Dhyan. So some of you or all of you get a experience how that dharana is converted into dhyan and how dhyan is converted into samadhi. Not samadhi is going to be happen in a 1 or 2 minutes, but you will feel more relaxed. So just adopt any meditative posture wherever you are, just to sit on a particular place and just relax and focus on your breath. So first, please be stable, either on the chair, on the floor, wherever you feel that you are more comfortable. Just sit there. Make yourself comfortable, relax. And just focus on your breath. Now, you have to give your complete focus, complete attention on your tip of the nose. It means we have to fix our gaze on the tip of the nose. So just try to focus on tip of nose, nothing else. And be focused here until unless you are not feeling much uncomfortable. As long as you can do, just focus on tip of nose. And after that, if you are not comfortable, just gently close your eyes, nothing else. Once you feel uncomfortable, just gently close your eyes, or your eyes automatically will be closed. And once your eyes will be closed, you will feel that there is some space between the eyebrows, which is called technically Ajna Chakra. And just be, don't go for any thought, don't go for any imagination, just be on that state as long as you are the comfortable. If you feel there are thoughts are uncomfortable, just open your eyes and be comfortable. Otherwise, just be on that state as long as you feel comfortable. Again, repeat this cycle again once more. Just again, open your eyes, focus on tip of your nose as long as you are the comfortable. and just focus. No, yeah, make complete focus on your tip of nose. There should be no disturbance at the level of eye movement, etc. No, complete attention, complete focus on the tip of nose, and try to maintain it as longer as possible. Don't make yourself much uncomfortable, but try to extend your comfortable. And once you feel more uncomfortable, just close your eyes. If you are feeling more comfortable in the closed eyes, just remain there. Otherwise, just open eyes and again be ready for the third round of Nashikagra Dhyan. Focus completely on tip of your nose and prolong it as long as possible. Again, once you started, uncomfortableness, just close your eyes and be in silence. Okay, so it was very brief Nasikagra Dhyan practice. So when we are focusing on tip of our nose, it's called the dharana, because we have to put effort to make ourselves concentrated. And after some time, slowly, gradually, when we close our eyes, we are automatically in the state of silence. We are not putting any kind of efforts. It's called the dhyana. And if that dhyana prolongs for longer time, then we are enter into samadhi. So that is only possible when for a long time we are practicing this Nasikagra dhyana. So simply, there is no pranayama, etc. Simply just say, primarily try to focus on your inhalation and exhalation and make your inhalation and exhalation deeper actively. Later, if you feel you are comfort with inhalation and exhalation and your breath pattern is organized, then very gently put your whole attention on tip of your nose and try to prolong it as long as your concentration of your tip of nose is long, as long as accordingly your concentration, the effortless concentration will be more and more. And that if that duration of dhyana, concentration, effortless concentration is long, then automatically will enter in a state which is called the sunya, nothingness, samadhi. So what we have to do actively, we have to actively first observe our breath, organize the breath pattern, then focus on tip of nose as long as possible, and after that gently close your eyes. After that, there's nothing to do. Whatever happens, the dhyana will automatically happen. Automatically you will feel very comfortable, very relaxed, very calm, very positive. And for a longer time practicing, it will upgrade for more and more broadened way. So that will make changes on your thinking pattern, your breath pattern, and also on your words, action. Everything will be more synchronized, more harmonized, and you will feel that every act will be the beneficial for the self and universe. And that is the ultimate goal of yoga as a positive psychology, as the what we converted as a adhyatma sadhana or self-upgradation. So